So I thought it was finally time to post an update to a video I did a while back where I showed how I went from manual to power windows and locks, how I installed them in my little single cab truck. So a few people were asking, how I did it, if I could show some details, how I actually got it to work. So that was finally time to show you guys how I did it. So please bear with me and stick around. I'll show you what I did. So I got here my '05 single cab Silverado here. Now I've done quite a bit of work to it. You probably can't tell, but this has been a little pet project of mine over the last few years. A lot of time, blood, sweat, tears, a lot of tears, but some joy too. So now, one thing I did want to share with you, I wanted to make a quick little video of the last thing. Well, one of the last things I did was I added power windows and locks to this. I did the conversion. Now, this truck started its life with all tan interior. This was a base model work truck with crank windows and no power locks. So now that all works, but it is still a work in progress. Now, if you want to do this swap too, I will give you what little advice I can from my experience and try to help you out. Now, when I started this, I had never done a swap like this before. So one thing you're going to need is access to a good service manual. You're going to need some schematics. You're going to have to figure out how to run the wiring. Now, I've never had good luck with just hopping on Google, looking at the forums, trying to find stuff online. I just never had good luck with that. So now what I had to do, I had to break down, and I decided to go with, I went on All Data at the DIY section, went online, and basically if you pay, I think 20 bucks, you get 30 days for a vehicle. So I broke down and did that. Now I've had good luck with All Data. It's usually pretty accurate, and you can download and look up all the schematics you want, service manual, and they have quite a bit of stuff on there. I went with them. Now, another option, if you want to go through AC Delco Tools, I think, you can hop on their GM site, and it's 20 bucks, but I think you only get like 3 days with the service manual. So now this definitely took me more than 3 days, so I went with All Data, so I could have plenty of time to look up all the manuals and everything. So that is what I did. So now, once you get all your service information figured out, what you're going to use, one thing that's really going to make or break, whether or not you can do this. One thing you definitely got to do, I think, in my opinion, is you got to find a good donor. If you want power windows and locks, I would just find a donor car, and so you can rob everything off of it all at once, because it is going to take a little bit of work. You're going to need, you're going to need the modules, the motor, the regulators. You're going to need everything. So if you just have a car, you can rob everything as you go and figure out how to do it. Like, that will be a lot easier. If you just try to piece it all together, buy each part individually, it would cost quite a bit. So now this is an '05, so I had to find an '03 to '07 Classic that was compatible, that would work. So I got lucky, and a buddy of mine had an '06 Avalanche with all the options that would work for my car. So now, I didn't use the switch off the Avalanche. I think I bought a door panel off a marketplace that had a switch like this that worked for a 2-door. So I did get that to work now. Now you got to ask yourself how you want to do it. Now, how I did it, my goal was, when I did this swap, I wanted to try to keep it looking as factory as possible. I wanted everything routed, in a factory locations. I wanted all the wiring ran and the fuse blocks. I wanted it to look like it came out of the factory with power windows and locks. So now you don't have to do it. It's probably easier if you just use some jumper wires, run some wiring. You can run some fuses, circuit breakers. You can get it to work different ways. There's probably easier ways to do it than the way I did it. But I'll show you how I did it, and you use that, do with it what you want. But Now, with my donor, first thing I did, I'll show you what I did. Now, I stripped this door panel off, took the module off. Now, I had to replace the little door lock actuator. I replaced the window motor, regulator, replaced that whole assembly, and I replaced the wiring. So the wiring connector from the door latch to the motor, all of it ran from inside the door through this little pass through and inside to the fuse block in there. So now every car is different, but I will tell you on this car, whenever I got everything wired up, nothing worked. Well, one of the reasons was, I will tell you a little secret, on this truck, the driver's side was missing the driver's door module. It did not have a class 2 circuit. It was just missing this little communication circuit right here to the driver's door module. Wasn't there. So the driver's door didn't work. Now on the passenger side, the passenger door module, it was missing these two battery positive voltage circuits. They were non-existent. So I had to run a class 2 circuit on the driver's side and 2 power circuits on that side pretty much just to get it to come up and work. Oh, I was also missing this power circuit too. Didn't have that guy right there. Now, that comes from the fuse block IP, which is over here. So, now I'll show you guys. This is my old fuse block right there. That's the one that was in the truck. So, now, if you look right here, this little cover right here, now you go to look, oh hey, this little circuit breaker right here, well, I was missing a circuit breaker, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just find a circuit breaker. So I plugged it in, and still didn't have any power. I was like, huh, I wonder why that is. Whoop, well, and that's when I found out that there's no pins in there. So, now I'm guessing because this truck was an option for all these accessories that they just didn't bother even putting the pins into these fuse blocks here to make it work. So, now that's not the only one. So, to make this work, I had to get the IP fuse block. I also needed the relay block, which this guy is underneath, by the middle, up underneath there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's underneath, up there. Now, they call that the relay block IP, I believe. So I needed that. Needed that too, so I don't know if you can tell, but let me see, that relay block has a circuit breaker in it. When I went to try to do the same thing over here, I think this one was it. I put a circuit breaker in there where it was supposed to go, and yep, it fell out too. Because guess what? I didn't have pins for it either. So I took all these off of my donor, put them in, and that helped. Now I still had to run some extra wiring because the power going out and the power coming in didn't have the pins on the backside either, so I had to run pins from the backside too. So, but I'll show you guys that later. Now, whenever I got all that wiring fixed, my windows started to work, but I still didn't have door locks. Now I have the key on. I'll show you something here. If you lock it, why doesn't it stay locked? Well, power doesn't come from the module just straight to the door locks. It goes to the body control module too. And the body control module is what decides whether or not it wants to lock that door or not. So let's say you have the key in and the door open. The BCM is like, no, I don't feel like locking it. It ain't gonna do it. So I had to get a BCM as well. Now, just a little warning here, if you go swapping out your BCM with a different vehicle that doesn't have the right VIN in it, you're going to run into a few issues. Just be careful. One thing, if you'll notice, I do have an airbag light on. So this BCM that I robbed was for an Avalanche. Now, it has some different options. Like I found out it had sensors in the doors, it had airbags in the seat. It had a few different options that this truck doesn't have. So I did set a B1001, I think, option configuration error. So I'm still working on that, but for now, you know, that's not my main concern at the moment. One other thing is you will probably get a theft light on. So if you put a different BCM, you will more than likely get a theft code, which you're going to have to do a theft learn on to get it to go off. And if you don't, it may not start. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, you don't have to have a BCM if you can program your BCM with a VIN that had door locks. You can probably get it to. So one thing I thought about doing with this BCM in this car was I was going to try to program it. But if I program my new BCM to this VIN, well, this was an option for door locks, so I'd just be back where I started. So I wasn't sure what to do. So I just plugged my donor BCM, made it all work, and went from there. So, but anyway. Now, that's just kind of a quick overview of what I've done. Now, I will go over all the schematics, all the pins, how I ran the wiring, how I got everything to work, because I did have to add some extra wiring and do some special little things to make all this work. Now, I'm going to make another video. I'm going to put it together. I promise, you know, I'll show you guys everything that I did, you know, later. But for now, you know, if you want to see that, just leave a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment. Now, that's all I got for today, but until next time, I'll break down a video and show you guys how I got my windows and my locks to work. I'll show you that more in depth later. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.